crypto asset? Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best? There is no second best.
Is Discover Crypto. Thank you for joining, everybody. I'm your host, DZ, getting ready for Vegas. I got the bags packed. I appreciate everyone hanging out. We had a little bit of an issue. I was hitting mute. I didn't know whether or not to hit it. I was waiting on Josh, but Josh is here. Josh, how are you doing today? I'm going to go ahead and get you in. Add you to the stage. I don't know if you're ready, but you're on screen now. How are you doing?
I was in the other studio waiting for you. I was like, DC, where are you? There's two Discover live rooms in the StreamYard, but I'm doing good. Voice is almost back from New York, so ready to hop on the jet here in about, not the jet, the Boeing 737 or whatever it is. But ultimately, I'm ready to see Bitcoin Las Vegas. I'm ready to get the content out there for everybody. So it's gonna be an exciting time.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting time. And speaking of exciting, the markets aren't looking too exciting. Things took a little bit of a dump, but right now just kind of being flat here. We're looking at the 1 minute. Let's go to the 5 minute here. Bitcoin's starting to create a little bit of a curve top. You know, obviously we don't want to see this continue as we head into the Bitcoin conference. We're going to go over the last Bitcoin conferences, what that means, what can we expect, what we saw last, we'll look at the last 4 years or so. We got some news with Donald Trump. We got some news with XRP, Cardano. And me and Josh are going to talk about getting ready for this trip. And Kelly already there. You maybe see him in the chat there as we get ready. Holiday stream as well. It is Memorial Day, so shout out to all the veterans, people putting their lives on the lines. First responders, cops, everybody. So, Josh, are you ready for Vegas though? That's the real question here.
DZ, I am ready for Vegas. We are with the Discord up about $1,700 this morning. So I am very excited to go roll these profits directly into a slot machine and lose all of it. So very exciting times ahead here. But no, Vegas is all right. I'm I don't know. I'm not much of like a degenerate gambler, says the man that bets his entire portfolio on crypto. But ultimately, we'll see. We'll have a good time.
Yeah, we're gonna have a good time, and let's go ahead and look at the markets here. So, I'm hitting all the buttons here, So, we're Bitcoin up a little bit now, but we did see a little bit of pullback. ETH also up a little bit. We just hit refresh, the freshest data. Solana with the nice 3% pump here. Tron looking pretty flat here. Almost lost all of its gains there. 0.2% into the green here. Hype starting to cool down a little bit, is down 3%, but look, 45% up for the week. We're going to talk about AI coins, some recent AI developments here. And if we look at the biggest gainers past 24, Jupiter Virtuals, AI leading the way here, followed by some meme coins, but we're seeing a lot of AI. We'll talk about, is it rogue AIs going against their own creators that's maybe creating this little bit of a spike here. And if we look at the dumps, Aave down a little bit, WorldCoin down a little bit, but WorldCoin also had a huge pump there. So, Josh, if you can only buy one AI coin, what AI coin are you buying?
Man, putting me on the spot. Probably, I hold Render, so I'd have to say Render, arguably. But there's a good, I would say, response to like virtuals if you're looking at like a layer 1 or something. But I'd really just be in Render. I think ASI too. Honestly, let me pull up ASI's chart because it's been a minute since we've looked at ASI chart. ASI, if it completely branded over to it, USDT here. Yikes, no volume on this bad boy. This is kind of the one. This was Ocean, for everybody that doesn't know. Ocean, Fetch, and what was the last one? Singularity, all going into one token there. I would say all I'm going to say on the AI market potentially did bottom there. That if you're really looking at it, but when you're looking at altcoins to BTC, right now, this is from Benjamin Cow. If you guys are looking at the title of today's stream, altcoins just hit a new low for their lowest weekly close in all of this cycle. So, we are hoping to see that bottom here soon, but AI has been one of those like sectors that just got absolutely decimated after the ChatGPT hype. And it's kind of just been slowly bleeding ever since. So I'd be looking at the blue chips, really. That's Near Protocol, that's Render, your billion-dollar market cap projects. ASI here, though, hopefully found that bottom about a 4 and 3 pennies. That's not even 4 pennies. Sorry, that's a half a penny. It's a fourth of a penny. So I would say, hey, it's probably going to bounce back, but ultimately I'd be looking at render and near.
All right, render, near. I like those choices there. Now, we are going to talking about altcoins, Bitcoin, one of the things that we do see is Bitcoin gains 5%, your altcoins gain 4%, but then when Bitcoin falls 3%, your altcoins fall 8%, and so you end up just kind of losing, and you can actually gain a little bit more with the alts with that story. Your alts can go up 10%, Bitcoin goes up 5%, but then when it starts dumping, it definitely
and they do say
losing more value.
The FET USDT chart right here. So shout out to Niles there, but still, again, looking at the kind of that same bleed out against Ethereum here, which right now we've been trading. I've been trading nonstop, right? We have a good trade right now up against $1,700. This was put out in the LBank Discord, guys. The link's in the description below. But when you're looking at the overall trend of altcoins right now, we just don't have that retail volume that we had last cycle. So everybody's still waiting for that alt season to break out. And until we see that Bitcoin dominance really start to shine down, it's going to be ugly. Look at this right here. Bitcoin dominance almost recovering that loss that we already had. This was that breakdown. Everybody's like, oh, it's finally here. And I mean, even in this point, we saw Ethereum go from $1,300 to $2,600. So it doesn't take much for Bitcoin dominance to drop. Even if Bitcoin dominance continued its uptrend,
what's interesting is this, where we're at right now is close to the spike that we saw was at the beginning of February.
Yeah, this is the beginning of February. Exactly. So, we're now back up to ranges we haven't seen since March of 2021. And until this breaks down, again, Bitcoin just being absorbed out of the market. You're watching the inflows just get sucked into Bitcoin's atmosphere. And until we see this break, altcoins are going to struggle against it. But again, we don't want to be like, okay, altcoins are dead. When you look at, again, going from 65% to 62%, that's only 3% on the dominance, DZ. It's like, we're not talking about a huge dominant shift here. And again, Ethereum went from $1,300 all the way back up to like $2,700, almost $2,800. So does it take much for dominance to drop for altcoins to rise?
Yeah, no, I'm looking at some RSI. There's some bearish divergences here, definitely. So, there are signals that this is going to reverse here. You can see the RSI creating a lower low on the weekly. If we look at the 30 or the 3-day chart as well, you see some hidden divergence. And if we go to the daily, just look at this recent action. We are a little bit lower on the price or on the dominance, but way lower when we're looking at the RSI there. So definitely a little bit of hope in the future here. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Speaking of Bitcoin did have a nice little pump. If you're wondering, where did the pump come from? Came from a Trump remark yet again. So reclaimed 109,000. What did Trump do? He extended the European Union tariffs deadlines to allow for talks. We got the details here. So on yesterday, 25th, he agreed to extend a June 1st deadline. This thing was about to end in less than a week, about 5 days from now. And then it was going to be imposing a 50% tariff on European goods. But we have now changed it. We actually have the post right here. This is the Trump Truth Social. I received a call from the president of the European Commission requesting an extension on the June 1st deadline on the 50% tariff. I agreed to the extension till July 9th, 2025. So we got a little bit of reprieve there. Markets end up loving this news. And global markets obviously were spooked when he decided to implement this 50% tariff if the negotiation failed. But for the time being, the reversal has provided a little bit of relief in the markets, a little bit of some green candles here. And we're going to need that because China also signaling a little bit of weakness in their economy. Kelly was putting this on my radar earlier this morning. I had to find this. We haven't seen too many articles on this yet. This happened overnight. China's central bank cranks up their liquidity. We have the numbers here. So it's the central bank on Monday. So early hours this morning, they're injecting new liquidity through open market operations. And they're doing this through reverse repos. And we got the definition of that. So this is $53 billion of 7-day reverse repos. And a reverse repo is when the central bank purchases debt from commercial banks through bidding with an agreement to sell them back in the future. So banks, they got some old debt. They don't want to hold on to this debt. And the People's Bank of China will buy that bad debt from these banks. And so we're getting a little bit of liquidity injection in China. And you see that M2 money. When you see those M2 money charts, we're still rising. We're still going up. We're still going higher and higher, Josh. I'm feeling good about the Chinese money print.
Yeah, it's part of that just global liquidity just continued to rise here. This is, something people like to watch very, very closely, which leads us to, really the Bitcoin golden cross are expecting. People are expecting a bit of a pullback if you're just following the M2 money supply. And yeah, guys, my nose is it's a little out there. It's a little out there. Don't know if it's spring. Don't know what it is, but still feeling good. It's just literally the throat. I seriously think it's just from yelling at the top of my lungs at not even clubs, just the after parties in New York. They're incredibly loud there. But hey, someone goes, Josh is getting his nose ready for Las Vegas. Jason, pause here. Pete Backshots is in the comments here again today. Cryptutu, how can you do anything when you don't know the next thing that's going to come out of the president's mouth? It'll change. We got the TDS syndrome in the chat here today. Guys, tariffs, we'll get to the tariff conversation here today, but it's been beyond predictable. It's like he slaps tariffs and then he doesn't go through with the tariffs like every single time. It just allows us to see more.
So you're saying when we get the trade tensions by the dip is what you're saying here, basically.
It's been every single time for the last 6 months, right? The trade deals weren't possible. Okay, well, now trade deals are possible. Well, not all trade deals possible. Well, some trade deals will be possible. It's like they just keep playing this like pickleball of back and forthness, and it's like it's the same game, right? We know interest rates are not going to cut till the latter half of this year. We know that the tariff negotiations are going well, but they're slow. But he never goes through with the full, 100% tariff slap. They got postponed now to July. We'll see if he goes through with 50 or if it's 20 or whatever it is by the time we get to there in July. But yeah, just take advantage of the swings. It's giving like great opportunities when the markets get feared and panicked. It's how we longed this market this weekend. We literally saw the market dip. There was tariff negotiations or announcements. We played into it and we saw the upside. We had alt season in March of 2024. Interesting here. I would say we did with the overall AI models. But what I want to show here is back to Deezy's point.
Is more how we long?
How we long. Oh my goodness!
I had to do this joke. You're saying we're going to show you how we long. We're going to show you how we long, and I had to show how we long. If we're going to show people how we long,
well, it won't even let me before presenting a screen remove other media streams. Okay, so I got to remove and then hit add. Yeah, this is crazy, man. We're not producers. That is the truth here today, DZ. Well, either way, we're going back to one other Benjamin Cowan post here, and man, I feel like Benjamin Cowan, ultimate bear here when it comes to altcoins. But it seems like kind of a perma bull when it comes to Bitcoin. So far, this is looking as the usual jump for the golden cross for Bitcoin. Could see it lasting a few days, then bounce sometime next week here. So this was posted just a few days ago. But that golden cross ratio that everybody's looking for, again, historically, you do get a pullback that's pretty significant here. And that may have been what we saw with the liquidation sweep down to 106 over the weekend. Now, in my opinion, it still wasn't enough of a dip. We still have more liquidation starting to pile up, especially if you go out to the weekly. It would not be shocking to me if we came back down to 105, 104, saw one more liquidation grab before we push up to that 115 or that 116K level that everybody has been waiting on. That's primarily just because, it's not abnormal to see these market makers do this. Look at the futures gaps that we still have below us. And right now, Bitcoin closed. And by the way, guys, some of you watching may not know this. It's a 3-day weekend. It's Memorial Day. So the markets don't open for the futures markets till tonight at about 6 p.m. Eastern. And right now we close at $109,800. So we are still currently sitting at the price of Bitcoin today, right at that gap. I just want to be shocked. I'd say that's worst case scenario. Worst case scenario is you come down to 96, you come down to that $90,000 range, but I would not put these out of the picture again. We were wrong to do that last time when we first created these gaps. We're like, easy, we're never going to fill these again. We're at $100,000, $77,000 is never happening again. And then bam, right? We filled it not only once, but actually twice before we started moving back up to the upside. So those would be the only caution ranges I'd be looking at. But again, every single day, almost every single week, there's more bullish news for these markets, and we have completely recovered, especially when you're looking against the SPX. The SPX back to levels that we were at before Donald Trump took office. So, we're down 5% from all-time highs. Not too far away from really seeing a breakout to the upside.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, we do have a couple questions. I want people asking, if you joined in late, where is TJ? TJ is packing his bags. He's got his baby. The baby's packing their bags as well. So he's bringing the fam up to Vegas. So a lot of people are getting ready for travel, and me and Josh are going to be getting ready to travel after this live stream, but we want to make sure we bring you folks a little bit of some content here. Now, let's get into big news with Bitcoin here, and that's going to be Michael Saylor bought more, but is his average price finally above 70? We got the latest here. So 4020 didn't quite do 4,200 Bitcoin as price briefly topped 110K. So how much Bitcoin did Michael Saylor buy? Well, he spent $427 million. He ended up buying Bitcoin between May 19th and the 23rd, and they just announced that this morning. Average price, $106,000 a Bitcoin, and they now have 580,000 Bitcoin. Average price, $69,979. So that's going to be the last time they had average Bitcoin price under 70K. 69.9, only $21 away from a 70K average price there. So Michael Saylor, he bought the dip, buying more and more. Not going to be stopping anytime soon. And that's leading to some insane price targets here, Josh. I don't know how you feel about some of these $1 million Bitcoin by 2030. Before we get into the article, do you want to throw out a year you think Bitcoin hits $1 million? I'd say roughly
by 2030 is pretty valid.
You like 2030? I like 2032.
Well, if you're talking, the United States government adding a Bitcoin strategic reserve with the next 2 to 3 years, if you're talking about, every single bank allowing custody, deregulation, perpetual contracts, that's all with the next 2 4 years. I think, 5 years is a pretty easy timeline.
Well, we got some saying even more than $1 million. So we just got a handful here. So Kathy Wood,
I say high 6 figures minimum.
Yeah, 1.5 million by 2030. That's going to be their bull case forecast. So that's, a little bit more of a bullish case. Their bearish case still have a $300,000 Bitcoin. We also got Robert Kiyosaki. We were talking about him last week. He's saying $1 million by 2035. I strongly believe that some of these other numbers are nuts. By 2035, one Bitcoin will be over $1 million. Gold ounce, $30,000, and silver, $3,000 per ounce of silver. I mean, if that was the case, everyone should just go out and buy as much silver as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I would be careful with the precious metal. Dude, I bought gold literally at the bottom, and that was just luck at Costco with our ounce bars, and bought a couple watches and stuff like that. But dude, we're still sitting at $3,300. Do you think silver is going to catch up to gold?
God no.
There's like the Robert Kiyosaki's out there that are like, I'm going all in on silver because
one's like a 10x, gold's like a 10x, silver he's given closer to 30x or so, maybe even like 40x. So this is the one he's given by far the best multiple.
I think Bitcoin outpaces that by a landslide.
All right. So we'll see. And someone's saying $1 million Bitcoin. You're looking at $2 million for a house, and that's in Alabama. That's going to be Arkansas.
You're already looking.
It's not going to be LA County.
You haven't been to California. Yeah.
You can go to LA County.
Yeah.
It's $1 million for burnt down nothing.
Like literally, there's people doing heroin in the shack next door. And you're not,
or
even worse, the squatters are in your $1 million home and you're taking them to court just to get back your property. But
speaking of Bitcoin and property, we got your buddy, friend of the channel, Grant Cardone. I've talked to him 1 million times on Around the Blockchain. So we just put out an interview with him 1 day ago. That's Cardone right there. Sell everything and buy some Bitcoin. Now you talked to Grant, right?
Yep.
All right. So this is actually talking about Grant. So Cardone Capital, the real estate investment firm, over $5 billion in assets under management. They have a 10x Miami River Bitcoin fund. It's a dual asset fund. It has a big Miami commercial property and $15 million worth of Bitcoin. And so what they want to do, what makes this interesting is they're going to be mixing Bitcoin and commercial real estate and convert its monthly cash flows into Bitcoin. So you're investing in this thing with Bitcoin in a big Miami apartment, and each month the money is going to be used to buy more Bitcoin. So you're investing in an apartment complex that uses their tenants' rent to just continuously buy more Bitcoin. My brother said to me, you should look at if you would have converted all cash flow from real estate to Bitcoin, what would you have done over the last 12 years? Well, it would have took $160 million and turn it into $3 billion. So if you want to learn more about Gary and Grant, what they're doing over there in Florida, go watch Josh's interview. What do you think about that? That's an interesting business prospect. Invest in this apartment complex that just buys Bitcoin with the tenant's rent.
I think it just makes sense. I mean, because not only will they be able to also borrow against their loan, but the cash balance sheets, the Bitcoin balance sheets that they have on their company that they want to IPO, they're looking to IPO this, is going to have an insane cash balance. So their credit, so to speak, their capability of being able to borrow will just allow them to buy more real estate, which will in return allow them to buy more Bitcoin, which will allow them to in turn borrow more money, which will allow them to in turn buy more real estate, to buy more.
You sound like the
Bitcoin.
'80s drug commercial.
And
you know, I
that's
go to work so I
exactly
can make more money, and I make
that's
more
the
money
motion
so
here.
I can buy more.
And
Bitcoin.
people are gonna be like, that sounds fair, but that's how that's how our markets work. That's what people do with real estate. That's why all these billionaires, I laugh my ass off when anybody goes, "Oh, we need to tax the rich." Like, dude, they have no money. You don't understand. All of their money is debt. You can't tax debt. So it's just like, it's fundamentally a purged argument when you see the AOCs and Bernie Sanders out here being like, we need to tax these billionaires, when they're literally refinancing all of their debts consistently. There is no way to tax that. So yeah, it's a genius plan. I think this is going to reshape real estate, but I think you're going to see every single real estate company do it, because there's going to be a point too where when Bitcoin's sitting at $300,000 to $500,000, like, it's not going to be a volatile asset anymore. It's going to be a $6 to $8 trillion market cap. And when you're at that range, you're now starting to enter that territory of gold. Like, you're looking at 1% to 2% swings, maybe 5% corrections in a bear market. So, I mean, gold actually had 50% corrections, but either way, it's all about the leverage. And it's all about the debt. And if they can have the strongest form, real estate's the most sound asset on the planet. I would argue Bitcoin's right there with it. But if you're looking at like traditional markets, what's the one thing that value always goes up? It never goes away. It will always have continuous demand.
Charizard foils.
Exactly. It is Charizards. It's the Pikachus. It's the Blastoise. No, it's
the scarce assets.
Yes, exactly. So I think it's genius. And if you guys haven't checked out that interview, I highly recommend you watch through it. Very, very interesting to watch through. I've had the opportunity I've known Gary for a long time. That was the first time I've talked to Grant. But really cool. It's really cool to see them actually use that income to, just repurchase Bitcoin. But at the same time, DC, we got to realize, like, not everybody can do that, right? I wish everybody could do that, but most people that are in real estate and they have that cash flow. That cash flow is paying their, that's their monthly income. So, but from a corporate structure standpoint, absolutely genius. I think they're going to absolutely crush it.
Speaking of absolute genius, let's talk about the stable genius, Donald Trump, and how they serve the worst food in the history of mankind. Maybe not quite. So this is a social media prankster. So, taking a little of this with a grain of salt. But Nicholas Pinto said the food served at Trump's meme coin dinner was trash. And the Trump speech was pretty much like BS. We got photos. It's the worst food I've ever had at a Trump golf course, he told Wired magazine. While other attendees interviewed said it was okay, but not top class. The only good thing was bread and butter, adding that he left the venue still hungry. He said the filet mignon was trash, called it Walmart steak, Josh. He called it Walmart steak. I will say that does look a little bit like airline food. That's maybe not. Let's just hope that's bad lighting or something. I mean, that's a very small piece of halibut, if I've ever seen one there. And the lava cake, I mean, it looks a little turdish. I'll go ahead and give them that. Thought that was funny. Don't even know why I threw that in there. Now, that being said, still would have loved to have gone. I would have ate that garbage food, and I just would have ate it with a smile on my face. And then I said, what meme coin is the Trump family member going to launch next? Who is it? Am I buying Eric? Am I buying Barron? Tell me the news here. But let's talk about a little more serious Trump news here.
It was a meme coin dinner. I don't know what they were expecting.
That's a good point. I mean, it could have been hot Cheetos. And you know what? It's a meme coin dinner.
I don't know what was more embarrassing, the food or the people outside protesting a meme coin dinner. I think it was just the entire thing. Like, I'm not a fan of the meme coin. Was the meme coin good for, deregulation? Sure. But we all know we're not fans of the president launching a meme coin. I don't think that was no one's trying to defend that. But Justin Sutton looked like he had the time of his life. So, hey, to each their own. And if you like collectibles and you want to be a part of that, I think he gave out like the 4 holders, like gold watches or something.
Yeah.
Do you think it was actually gold, or were they like fake plastic ones that like you twist out of a gumball
Speaking
machine?
of wristwear, you've seen the What Would Jesus Do wristwear, right? It's WWJD.
What would JD do?
But there used to be wristwear. It said WWJD, what would Jesus do? Now, I feel like if you're, should I buy that bad meme coin? Just picture Elizabeth Warren looking over your shoulder, like she's looking over this politician's shoulder. You will put that piece of cake down. You will not buy that meme coin. You will smash that like button. But what we got in the final days of the Senate stablecoin debate, Trump's crypto ties still in the spotlight. We didn't get this passed on Friday. And now we don't know if it's going to get passed this week. The hopes for a quick stablecoin bill success has dragged into another week as the Senate continues to debate the legislation and Democrats keep focusing on Donald Trump's crypto ties. So what are they worried about? Well, first, it's going to be a push from the prominent faction of Democrats, including Elizabeth Warren, Chris Murphy, to amend the legislation to directly ban Donald Trump and other officials from engaging in the stablecoin business, a restriction that Trump's already ran afoul with World Liberty Financial. Now, to be clear, Trump's assets are in a blind trust controlled by his sons. Now, some have said that's not good enough. Some said, well, that's what every president does. Before we move forward, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? He is invested in all these things, but it's in a blind trust controlled by Eric, Don Jr., Ivanka. I mean, is he divested enough if it's in a blind trust?
I mean, my opinions I don't think are irrelevant when it comes to. I think that it's bullshit. I think who cares?
I think the blind trust. I think if he said, "Hey,
like,
Don Jr., you need to sell that,"
if he's buying into stocks, it's like, dude, do we really need to talk about who the top 5 traders are in the world right now? It's like they're all.
I would say just
Republicans
because Nancy Pelosi does it, it's bad. Doesn't mean we should allow Trump to do it. Just because Nancy does it doesn't mean Trump should be able to.
No, but
that's not a good argument.
My point is like. Is it what's the right term when it's a fallacy? There's no reason to argue it because it already exists and it won't change.
That's defeatist attitude.
You know what I mean?
You know what? You sound like the Empire.
No, it's not
I'm the Rebel
attitude.
Alliance.
It's okay. So my question is, what's something we can do? Because there's the Thomas. What's the Thomas last name? He's the congressman.
Massey.
Yeah. What's Thomas Massey? For years, we need to stop stock trading in Congress. Has it ever happened?
We could primary Nancy.
How? Okay. How?
Get prominent San Francisco tech billionaires who used to be Democrats to fund an opponent.
That sounds so easy.
It doesn't sound that hard.
So what can we do at a state level? Which is easier.
At a state level, I mean, you vote with your feet. You vote with your feet and you leave states like California, which is why they have diminishing populations.
We try to deregulate the state. Yeah, and that's been depopulate. Kind of crazy, but it's kind of true. You sound like Elon Musk is the opposite. You're some Bill Gates there. But no, it's I don't know. Chat, what do you think? What do you think? Because for me, it's just like at this point, like the fact that David Sachs had to divest everything that he was doing to be in the position as cryptos are, and he's like losing hundreds of millions of dollars, or not hundreds of millions, but tens of millions of dollars. There's some points where I don't think David Sachs is like a evil human being that needed to lose all that money because of the position he wanted to do to like make the industry better. So I just think that entire thing, I think it's structured poorly. I think it needs to be restructured entirely and be more fair for those that do take office, but also more fair for those that aren't in an office that can't inside trade.
Yeah, I mean, it gets a little funny when you're talking about divesting your assets when your name is on the asset, So if you have Trump Hotel and you're like, well, I'm divested totally, like your name's still on it. I understand it's in a blind trust, but the blind trust is ran by someone also with the last name Trump. I think it's maybe a little bit different than David Sachs. He's probably a little bit heavier S&P mutual funds. Donald Trump has billions tied to buildings with his name on it.
Is his family never going to be able to do anything?
It's just a thorny issue when you have real estate with your last name on it. I think it gets a little bit tough there. It's like Obama had a book, and when he was president, book sales skyrocketed. It went into an account that he ended up, being able to do something with that money. I mean, it's tough. It's
you have like, and I'll read some comments here, like DZ Chrysler, Jake's logic. When the Trumps do it for billions, it's okay. When Pelosi does it for a few million, it's evil. Again, missing my logic is, if you can't fight it, like, what's the point, right? It's like, it's both sides. By the way, Republicans do this. I think it's Thomas Emmer is the lead inside trader, right? If I'm not mistaken. I'll pull up a
It fluctuates.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. It's like we could complain about it, but nothing's going to change. That's where I got to.
Well, I say primary Pelosi. It even sounds good. You got alliteration.
I agree. Have DZ. I'll vote for you, DZ.
I'd have to move to San Francisco though, and that's a deal breaker. I'd live in Chaz, before I moved to San Francisco.
Chat, you voted. Will you vote for Obama? Will you vote for DZ? Anyways,
I
what
think
else
I'd
we got
win.
here?
I think I'd win. All right, now
we got it.
Now, just if you're wondering how early are you, so New York Times had an article about the stablecoin bill. I just want to read some of the unhinged lunatic responses and what people just how disconnected they are from what crypto is. Someone who's been in tech for 20 years, everyone I know agrees that crypto is a joke and a disgrace. It's solving a problem that doesn't exist. It just made it easier for bad people to do bad things. Again, people not thinking about the actual value add of Bitcoin. It's because they live in a nice nerf little life where they get to wake up, probably in America, read the New York Times. They're not fleeing a despotic regime. They're not fleeing political persecution, and they're not trying to cross a country's borders with a diamond shut up their you know what. So obviously Bitcoin has value. You know, it enables people to flee with money inside their brain with the form of a 12-word seed phrase there. Let's see here. So the value of crypto is its ability to be manipulated by a small group of holders trading amongst themselves. Bitcoin's value is expressed in dollars as if it's a share, a price of a stock. It's not such a unit unless one considers its criminal value expressed in terms like kilos of cocaine, enslaved women, guns, other objects of abhorrent illegal activity. So you can't think of Bitcoin unless you think of all those negative things. Obviously, you know, disconnected here. Privatized money creation is counterfeiting. But to coin a phrase, if the president does it, it's not illegal. I guess they don't understand stablecoins are just representations. They're not actually creating money. They're removing money from the fiat system. And so just more and more bad takes from the New York Times there. So we're still early. People still don't understand crypto. And we're just going to see a lot of FUD, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. Speaking of crypto criminals, Sam Bankman-Fried
Getting out early, dude.
He's getting out early, but we got why. You know, I'll tell you what I think here. So he might get out 4 years earlier than his 25-year sentence. So according to the Bureau of Prisons here, inmates' release time are calculated on good behavior, also known as good conduct time. So some of the things you can earn 54 days a year each year if you're well behaved. Also, you get time shaved off by participating in certain programs offered in the prison. Say you teach a GED class. Also, you can receive credit for being incarcerated before the date of the sentencing, like he was. If you remember, he revealed Caroline's secret diary. They locked him up because of that, and so he was locked up during the trial. They revoked his bail there, so he's going to get out a little early. But 54 days each year might even end up being a little bit more than 4 years there. So Sam Bankman-Fried, 21 years. I'll say it's enough. I'll say 21 years is enough. You think he should do life sentence?
Is enough. No, I think his parents should be in jail for
Barbara.
Yeah, I still think he's a fall guy. I don't know. He still deserves to be in jail, but I think that sentence deserves to also be on other people that were involved with that entire scene. I also think that people like Maxine Waters, like Democrat donors that were taking like black money that were pillaged from this, like they should have been arrested or at least fined for taking taxpayer dollars. There's so many evil people involved with that. You know, it's like he's like a little P. Diddy of the crypto world, except, you know, instead of blackmailing people with children, he was blackmailing people with you know.
Yeah, instead of Obama pills, he had Obama bills. You know,
yeah, it just
money. I don't know.
That's another one of those situations, and it's like it got thrown so quickly, and you know, Sam Bankman-Fried's the guy, and it's like everybody in crypto knows like what he was doing. He was not capable to do it by himself, and then you just look at the people around his parents, his lawyers, their connections to the administration. It's like, are you kidding me? Are we really good? Like, look, Gary Gensler met with him what, a dozen times, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like there's no responsibility. That's my point when I say there's some things that are just, if you want to beat them, you have to beat them from within, and you have to play their game. That is the world of politics. And so it's like you could say things that are vocal, that are strong, and the Fed, cancel illegal immigration, right? Like, but for Trump to do that, he had to do it from within, right? Like there's some things like people tried to say this was a bipartisan. Oh, we just need a new bill structure passed in 2022. I'm just using that as an example because it's a perfect example of a political game. You have to play their game to change the game, and that is what I meant by Sam Bankman-Fried. Whether it's stock trading, For me, I think Congress should have a 3% deficit limit on them. That would solve almost all of our issues because they would not overspend since Congress has power of the purse. They would not overspend if they had a limit. They have a black card. They could just keep spending. Nothing in trouble, right? So, it's one of those interesting things, but that's why we Bitcoin. No matter what, we know these people are always going to print more money. They're always going to do what's best for themselves. They're going to do what's best for their lobbyists, and they're going to continuously print endless amount of capital, and that M2 money supply is going to expand, and Bitcoin is going to continue to dominate. The only question is how do we play that game? And this is what I was talking. This is actually what I directly talked to the mayor of New York City about. How do we change the game that is going to exist, whether me, you, DZ, TJ, or anybody likes it or not? How do we change it to benefit the retailer, us, you guys watching this? How do we revoke bit license? How do we go after the state-based policies that prevent you from being able to participate within this game fairly? And that is like the first point that I like to attach and be able to, make change to. But there's so much work that needs to be done. And I'm very excited. I'm excited a bit. That's
people talking about what is the path for $1 million Bitcoin 2030, 2035. Well, it's going to be politicians like I would say Macron, just printing and printing. I think he just got into a little tiff where he's like, babe, we're going to print a whole lot of money, babe. We're going to print. No, we're not. Yeah, we are. Hey,
he's like, babe, I'm going to tell them you're a man.
I think it would have been a closed fist instead of a open palm slap.
True.
Yeah. So yeah, that's wild to see there. I just like the smile. Classic.
That's crazy.
Hey,
he's like, hey, we're all good.
No problem here.
We're all
right
good.
now.
Damn, dude.
Let's talk a little Solana. I had to play it. People brought it up. I had to play it. Solana. Following Bitcoin, network activity chart pattern point to a $300 Solana price. And so the TVL is up 54% since April 7th. Meme coin trading volume has doubled since early April. And we're looking at a V-shaped recovery. It looks like we might get close to a $300 Solana. So I don't want to go to the article. I just want to kind of pull up the charts here. Yeah, if we end up seeing this play out, let me get out of the way. Boom. We get another one. I mean, could potentially see a slight Solana rally to maybe follow this range right here. I guess we could say maybe looking more something like this. So it might be a little potential just chart pattern to watch out for. I don't think it could stay this bullish, but Solana, just be careful betting against Solana when it goes bull. I mean, it can. You can see how vertical the line is there. These are daily candles. We're not looking at the 1 minute or anything like that. And so there's 100% of world Solana can follow along this path there. And so that might be a potential little path for Solana. I don't know if you're in any trade. Are you feeling bullish on Solana? Are you feeling bearish? How are you feeling at the moment?
I mean, I'm always bullish on Solana. You just had me looking into that video. I got another angle. That's crazy, dude. This is crazy.
Oh, the Macron. You didn't see that this morning?
No, that's crazy. That's funny. But yeah, I mean, to Solana, yeah, dude. I'm very like Solana. I still think 420. I think if you have an absolute blow off top, like what's that? My dog's barking. $690. I think it's gonna follow the memes. Like that sounds crazy, but I'd be watching those meme levels as like those absolutes for Solana there. Is Solana gonna go to over 1,000? I'm not somebody that believes that. No, but you guys know me.
420 is a lot of sell pressure.
Yeah, there's people calling for like $1,000 to $2,000 Solana. I don't know. Maybe chat. Maybe you could type L in the chat if you don't agree with me. I just don't think alt season is going to be as big as this market. As retailers like to make it out to be because it's an institutional game. I think we could easily go from 110 to 120K and then hover there for a couple weeks as we just watch retailers and Bitcoin dominance absorb more of the liquidity. Then you go to 130. Like we have BlackRock, we have Fidelity, we have JP Morgan now flipping the script, coming in and buying Bitcoin custody. So it's like, I think it's going to be a very, very institutional focused market. And that's why I do like Solana. I think Solana is part of that game. I think Ethereum is part of that game. I think Chainlink's part of that game. I think a lot of these, top 12, top 15, they're going to perform great. They just I don't think they might have a 10x in them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if Solana followed that. That would give us a 420 Q1 2026. But are you ready to talk about rogue AIs again? We kind of talked about some rogue AIs last week. Now we got even more rogue AIs. We had a ChatGPT model rebel against shutdown requests and tests, according to some researchers. And so it wasn't just ChatGPT. Several AI models ignored and sabotage shutdown scripts during controlled tests, even when explicitly instructed to allow the action. The 3A models ignored the instruction and successfully sabotaged the shutdown script at least once during 100 runs. OpenAI did it 7 out of 100 times. Codex's Mini did it 12 times. The O4 only did it once out of 100 times. And so we're seeing more and more rogue AI models. And then I don't know if it's related, but we got an AI crypto pump. We talked about at the beginning of the show. You saw the top gainers. It was almost AI and meme coins across the landscape there. Meme coins to watch. I mean, they just talk about AI XBT, AI 16Z. I would say both of those are going to be strong projects there. But I'm starting to feel a little bit more bullish when I see some of the recent AI, I would just say headline grabbing attention actions that we've seen lately as it hits mainstream media more and more, as it starts to develop more and more. People are going to have more speculation on the AI agents, some of the AI agent launch pads, some of the AI agent infrastructure coins, basically AI coins in general when it comes to crypto.
Yeah, it's always going to come back. And some people are saying they agree with, alt season's going to be a little bit less. Some people are saying I'm bearish. I'm very bullish, guys, on the market. I think it's going to be very sector based, and you could see these influxes come in and out of right field. What's interesting to me though, Google VO3 launched. Like, we didn't get the same reaction as when ChatGPT launched, and Google VO3. I mean, does anybody realize how powerful that tool is? It's so, even though we're having these monumental breakthroughs, these historical breakthroughs in technology, we're still not getting that same influx of money that we saw when ChatGPT's models first released. So it just tells me that retail has less money this cycle. And that's why, like, if Solana, by the way, is at $300-400, most of your altcoin, you're going to have 50 to 100 X's. They're just going to be small market cap tokens. Like, it's the same thing every cycle, right? Solana doesn't continue to 100X every single cycle. 100X in 2021 did not 100. Well, actually, it still did like a 10X because we had the FTX collapse, went down to $7-8, and then it jumped back up. I don't think you're going to get that opportunity again, but I do think there's still a lot of upside within it. And same thing with these chat models, Easy. It's like they're going to come back. You just got to be cautious out there because, like, how many of the Chat GPT AI agents that launched are still relevant today? Out of the thousands that we're launching.
I mean, honestly, it does seem like the State Department just wants a few winners, and it seems like that's kind of the direction it's heading.
Exactly. So, yeah. So, I think it's going to, 100% I'll come back, and I just want to be prepared for it. And that's all we really can do. Are there any current future gaps open for Bitcoin? Crypto2 is asking. This is a great question I want to answer real quick, homie. There definitely is here on the daily time frame. If you're looking at it right now, you have futures gaps down at 96,000 to $97,000, and then 90,000 to, or this is, sorry, 91,500 to 92,600. So those are your two big gaps. Do they have to fill before we go up to 130K? No. But yeah, 100% Crypto2. These are the levels I would be watching if we were to start seeing that correction. That's the other thing too here that concerns me is Bitcoin is at $110,000 and ETH still at 2,500, right? Sui, Ondo, everything's still down massively in comparison. As Bitcoin breaks out and hits new all-time highs, these altcoins are hitting lower and lower highs. Bitcoin dominance is rising more and more. So if Bitcoin comes back to 96K, you're going to take a pretty big, you're probably looking at $2,000 Ethereum again. Now I don't expect that to happen, but just say that be prepared for that. If you're not, take advantage of the swings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Now, I do have a little bit more news when it comes to, I was just looking at some of those videos. Those things are like totally insane. And so, yeah, it is going to be interesting. This one, imagine if Jurassic Park was real.
Yeah.
Pretty good right there. So awesome stuff to see. But I got a little Ripple news. Cardano fans, XRP fans, smash that like button. If you hold some Cardano, if you hold some XRP, let's help that algorithm and let's help your altcoins as well. Charles Hoskinson said, we did reach out and talk to the Ripple Labs stablecoin team. The issue XRP is running into is whether or not they're going to be able to buy Circle. That changes the entire strategy and roadmap. And I've heard rumors up to $11 billion acquisition. So they've kind of paused where they're going to do, their development, maybe the roadmap. So they put a little bit of a pause on the RLUSD to see if they can pull off this purchase of Circle. And he says he actually believes Ripple acquiring Circle would be better for crypto than, say, Coinbase or AI16Z acquiring Ripple. I'd rather Ripple, the XRP people, buy USDC. So I just thought that was an interesting take. We were kind of talking about this last week. We're like, I think I agreed, maybe Coinbase might be a little bit better. But even Charles himself saying, no, maybe XRP would be the better move there. So
I think Coinbase would centralize the hell out of the industry.
I don't know
it's
how.
Like at least Ripple would be a third player, if that makes sense.
It's already, very centralized.
Yeah,
USDC
I don't know.
and Coinbase.
Does he say why?
Even.
Does he say why? I gotta watch that clip. I watched that same video. I don't remember that part because minute 46 is funny. He like goes off on a guy in his basement.
Yeah, it's they go long and they go often, so I haven't digested the whole thing. Also, some pretty interesting XRP news. Dubai Land Department teamed up with Control Alt to control the real estate tokenization project, selecting XRP Ledger as the blockchain of choice. Some of the details, I think it's around a $3,000 minimum investment. You can buy fractionalized shares of real estate, and so just good news for the XRP holders out there. Starting to get slow but surely getting more and more just integration and just different protocols, just different aspects of different governments. And Dubai, a lot of money in that area, so I wouldn't sleep on that one. You ready to talk about Bitcoin here? Bitcoin Vegas, Josh?
Hit us. What are we doing this week?
Well, that's the speculation. So I got last 4 years. 2021, the big takeaway, the big announcement. Usually there's a big announcement. Sometimes they vary. The 21 announcement, El Salvador making Bitcoin legal tender. That one was huge. What about the next year? A little bit smaller. It was Strike with Bitcoin Lightning payments. It ended up teaming up with, it was a Shopify. Probably Shopify was the one, big one, NCR, Blackhawk Network. So basically large payment providers. So Bitcoin, big Shopify announcement here. Probably definitely not as big as El Salvador. 2023, big announcement. We got our first Bitcoin candidate. Kennedy, he announced his presidency in 2023. And then that kind of takes us to 2024. That's when we had Donald Trump pledge strategic Bitcoin reserve. At this point, he's already the Republican nominee, front runner, at least at that point. Obviously he's not determined if he's going to beat Joe Biden at this point. I think Joe Biden was still in it. I don't think Kamala had stepped up to replace him just yet. But 2024, huge announcement, Bitcoin reserve. Any speculation for 2025?
What was the date on last? I'm going to pull it up right now.
Well, we're in July. And then I remember they had a debate between Biden and Trump, usually, well before the average time. It's normally around, September,
so it was the end of July?
It might have been August when they
it says August 4th here. So that would have been, I wanted to see the price action is what I'm doing right here. So that would have been 2025. Let's go back to boom, 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 boom. I'm pulling up the chart here. Let me go boom. Oh, my bad. He's doing it too. So July, right? So we're going to go June, July, August. So this seems to be it. So why I'm showing you guys this is because
it dumped on the reserve.
If I remember correctly, every single Bitcoin event, whether it was Miami, it was 2022, it was 2023, 2024, it always dumps after the event. In this case, by a pretty serious percentage. So the question here is, are we going to get the traditional Bitcoin dump after the major Bitcoin event in the United States?
Well, I'll say as of now, we're kind of getting a little bit of a Bitcoin pump, on the 1 minute chart. So it looks like Bitcoin trying to break out of this boring trading range that's been stuck in and trying to get back into some bullish action. And so maybe we'll turn this thing around. I don't know. We'll still see. It's still early to tell. I'll say conferences always have weird price action. So just got to be careful because I think a lot of people front run what may be seen as big announcements, but like a positive announcement, they'll short it. Maybe no good announcement, they'll end up market makers will pump.
Well, I will say if you guys want to follow along with these trades, guys, the Discord links in the bio. This trade was posted in there earlier yesterday when we saw a reverse head and shoulders pattern playing out on Ethereum at $2,500. Our stop loss right now is at $2,532, but we're up roughly $2,000 in this trade currently here. So we'll probably continue to adjust this as the day continues. But if you guys want to know what we end up doing with this trade, as well, if we're going to long or short this, Daisy's posting all his updates in there. We're going to be posting a ton of exclusive behind-the-scenes content with you guys in that Discord while we're out there. We're going to be trying to vlog and attempt to this. I got to figure it out. Because I do want to do whether, type 1 in the chat. Actually, I'm going to ask you guys live right here. We've got about 1,000 people watching. Do you prefer, like, I'm trying to like do an Aiden Ross style stream where we go live and we're walking around for like 3-4 hours just in Las Vegas. Type 1 if you want to see that. Of course, it'd be crypto focused, but like we'd be bringing you along everything that we're actually doing. So at the conference, going back to the studio, you guys get to see behind the scenes, meaning like other influencers, that type of stuff, all on camera. Or 2, just traditional YouTube vlogs. I think 1's gonna hit. We just need to figure out the logistics of it because there's a lot that goes into it. But 2, if you still like the YouTube aspect, we can figure it out and try to really master those vlog footage with you guys as well. But lots of 1s. So I think the 1s is gonna be cool. I think we're gonna try that Tuesday. I'm hoping that's tomorrow. Wednesday. Tomorrow's not the event, so Wednesday will be at the event. We got to just test the Wi-Fi. So appreciate you guys for taking a vote on that. That lets me know kind of what you guys are more interested in.
Yeah, and I tried to put the Discord link in the chat there, but it ended up fully having it on there. So for whatever reason, it isn't on today's live stream. But if you go just an older live stream, say 3 days ago, 4 days ago, it's a hidden link. It doesn't have the blue text. It's actually, you will see it right there. When I put it in, it ended up showing up as 2 different messages. So I don't think I have a clean link there for you folks. But that's all the news I got. I'm about to start packing for Vegas. Josh, you got to do the same, I'm guessing.
Same thing for Vegas. And we got to go catch some flights here today, guys. Happy Memorial Day. Enjoy your families, guys. Just take a day off for once. Crypto never sleeps, but we need to, or else you start making bad trades. Yeah. So yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Make sure you guys hit that like button on the way out. And of course, comment your favorite altcoin in the description below. So that way we know what type of videos to produce as we're in Bitcoin Las Vegas, guys. We'll see.
Have a good Memorial Day. Smash the like.